This is the Mack G Show.
Welcome to episode 18 of the Mack G Show. We are very happy with the guest that we have on today. Before we go there, I have one question. This will date when we're having this interview. But on Thursday, the Four Nation Face-Off finals are here in Boston. We know what the Canadians did when we were there. They booed the national anthem.
Right.
Big debate on sports radio today. Should the fans boo on Thursday?
Would you like me to answer that question?
You're the hockey guy.
I would rather beat the piss out of them like they did last time than boo.
Exactly.
Booing's classless.
Exactly. And it makes them look worse because we didn't do it.
I just hope we win because I feel like all that's for nothing.
I know, and I feel like it's harder for us to win this game.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's ask.
Absolutely.
Ask James.
We're going to ask James. So, before further ado, I am going to... Actually, before we get into that, like and subscribe, follow us on social media. You know the drill. If you don't know where we are, go to the show notes.
You got it.
Okay, we got that. All right, without further ado. Our guest today is James Baker, the head baseball coach at the Governor's Academy. Before stepping into this role, he spent 3 seasons at Colby College, where he helped build a nationally ranked program and coached multiple award-winning players.
A former pro pitcher, James played 7 seasons, including time with the San Diego Padres organization.
Now, as co-owner of Baker O'Flynn Sports, he specializes in athlete development, particularly pitching. A Massachusetts native, proud husband, and father of 2, he's dedicated to shaping the next generation of athletes. Please welcome to the Mack and G Show, James Baker.
What's up, James?
Thank you, fellas. Thanks
How
for
are
having
ya?
me. Doing great.
So
Thanks for
before
having
we
me.
get into a lot, what your take on Thursday?
No booing.
Right.
Stay classy. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
Keep it simple.
Are you allowed to boo the starting lineup? Like, do they do that? In other words, like, cheer the national anthem because we have no problem with your country, but we despise your players.
Marshawn
I don't think I've ever booed once in
Yeah.
my life.
No, I'm not a big
You
booer.
go there, you cheer the guys on, and
Right.
they're doing their best out there, you know?
But you also were a pro athlete, so like you didn't probably appreciate it when people booed you. When
No,
you were
I've had French fries and poutine thrown in my face. So up in Canada, speaking of Canada,
really,
yeah.
A lot of
Imagine warming up in the bullpen up in Quebec, and they're throwing poutine on you.
That's not good unless
No.
it's tasty and somehow you can.
It smells good.
Right.
So I always had. We used to go up there for hockey all the time. I never thought the French Canadians liked us anyway. I always got that vibe.
Oh, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
I don't think the French like Americans.
And
Why?
so that's the. I don't know.
What do we do to them?
I don't know. But I think like Toronto, I don't think they have a problem.
Right.
Montreal, I think they got a problem. I don't know why. Hopefully we didn't lose those 2 people that might be listening from Montreal.
Yeah. I don't have any problem with the
You got to
Canadians.
grow the audience here, guys.
Right, yeah, exactly.
yeah, no,
Love
that's
them all.
fine.
Love
Bring
them all.
'em in.
Exactly. All right, so let's start at the beginning. For those people that don't know where Boxford is, we're there right now, right? And that's where you grew up.
That's correct, yeah.
And pretty much, I did too. I'm older than you. Really nothing in this town but trees,
Yeah.
right? And people.
That's it.
So how was it growing up in Boxford?
It was, pretty simple life, and great parents. I had 3 older half siblings. They had grown up, moved out of the house, but, plenty of friends and, teammates and playing a ton of sports around here and, staying out of trouble for the most part,
And speaking of sports, I believe your 2 sports were basketball and baseball.
Correct, yeah.
When you were younger, did you have an affinity towards one or the other, or you just liked them both?
I just like playing sports. It was, you're watching all your favorite athletes on TV. You're watching the Patriots. You're watching the Celtics, Red Sox. And, growing up, it was, you watch those games, then you go out and you want to mimic it in the front yard.
Right.
It wasn't a ton of video games back then. So it was more go out and do it and have fun. And it's more Sandlot type feel to it.
Got it. So
Yep.
you transitioned to Masconomet High School, Gold Chieftains.
Yeah.
You're playing basketball and baseball. Is that when you realized, geez, I think I can do baseball beyond high school? Like, when did you know?
Yeah, so I focused more on baseball and basketball. Those were my 2 sports. And baseball was really the true passion, and I loved it. And I'd say early on in high school, so kind of a story that goes with it here.
I know the story.
Do you?
I read it.
Okay.
Sophomore year.
Yeah. So sophomore year, good player. I was a lot smaller, underdeveloped. I mean, I had tools, but I was just a runt. I think my time to grow was later. So at the end of the day, trying out for JV, trying out for varsity, I'm one of the last cuts. Didn't make any team, and it was devastating. Like baseball was everything, sports is everything. So at the end of the day, I knew, I wasn't going to take that. So set up a meeting, talk to the coach. I'm going to do anything, whatever it takes to be around. I'm not going anywhere. So helped out the JV team. I'm filling water bottles. I'm hitting ground balls to guys that I was trying out with. That did make the team.
Right.
That's tough, but that's a solid move to show I love this sport.
Because some kids quit because they're pissed, and you did the opposite.
Yeah.
I told the coach I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stick around. I'll do whatever it takes. So
That's
just
awesome.
point me in the right direction. I'll do it. So I helped out the JV guys, literally anything that they needed. An injury happened, filled in, and did well. Had a shot, took it, ran with it.
Were you always pitching then? Did you know that pitching was the deal?
I was more. I was infield, outfield pitcher. I was just baseball player.
Okay, got it.
But there was a focus, in that meeting, like why I didn't make the team, where you need to get stronger, you need to get bigger, you need to get, more developed, and continue to work on your skills. So I think it's funny to kind of look back where I found some passion for functional training, for weightlifting, strength and conditioning, but ended up, putting on some weight, and, the next year, make varsity. Next year after that, make varsity, and being one of the top players around. So it was
That is great.
at the end of the day, that's something that it's still with me, and it sticks with you.
That's
but
awesome.
It's a driving force. And
Do you think if you made that team, then you'd have a different attitude? Like, did that help you, give you more determination?
If you had
and
made
drive?
it, you wouldn't have had that same motivation, right?
internally, I
I'm
knew I was a good player. I knew, my mental game was strong. It definitely took a hit with that, but I did need to get bigger. At the end of the day, it's just one of those things you grow and you learn from, and you get bigger and you take advice, and you have a chip on your shoulder and you go.
Good coaches at Masco, because it's a public high school. Sometimes
Yeah.
you have the most tremendous coaches in the world, and sometimes you get the short straw. So, did you feel like they were good coaches?
I mean, Pete Talani is one of the greatest coaches that I've ever had. And he's he's still a driving force for show baseball and does a lot of their player development. And but he was the one who directly told me those things, and it was great advice. It's something it's the straw that you're given. That's what you end up doing.
Have you ever had to tell a kid, we don't think you're right for this team, and did they do the same thing to you?
It's funny you ask that. I mean, you get into decisions where you have to make cuts or have difficult conversations, but I always have that in the back of my head of it's hard.
So a kid could potentially change your mind if he comes at it the right way. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got to go back and attack it with hard work, and if you have to go back to the drawing board and you give someone some tasks to work on and get better at, and they do, and they come back gangbusters and they're ready to go, then they proved it.
Got it. All right. So you graduate from Masconomet and you decide to go to Wheaton College. Was it always going to be Wheaton? Were you looking at multiple schools? Was there scholarship involved? So that came into decision. Like how was the decision to go from high school to Wheaton?
Yeah. So Tim Bransfield, who's my best friend in high school, that's a whole separate story. But he was a guy that was getting Division I looks. Even some pro sniffs, I'd say. Even for a Masco, shortstop pitcher guy. So he ended up choosing Wheaton. He's more of a homer. He wanted to be closer to home. It was a great up-and-coming program. Coach Podbelski, who's still there and doing great things, with a nationally ranked team every single year. So anyway, Tim ended up committing there. So Coach Podbelski comes to watch Tim, but also from a tip from Coach Delani, like, hey, take a look at, Baker or maybe some other guys. So that was basically like my first high school experience pitching. I had nothing but a fastball, so I'm doing the shakes and all that stuff.
You know he's there watching you,
I had no idea.
so they didn't tell you.
Oh, okay.
But he had, I guess, previously watched me at
Right.
a few other games, and
Because would you be nervous? Like you know that what's going on there. You must be.
it's an opportunity to show how good you are, or just show your skill set.
Right.
You don't put extra pressure on yourself. But I guess he had seen me a few other times, but this was kind of the final thing of want to see him and see him perform, and especially see him on the mound.
Yeah.
So after that, I talked to Podbelski after the game. This was a specific game at Melrose tournament. Had a good game with the bat, and when I got on the mound, it was 3 innings. I think I struck out everybody but 2, and then Podbelski, pulled me over and said a few things, and a couple days later had an offer from him, and Tim was going there. I'm like, how do I not?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was just kind of looking at different offers. At that point, some soft offers from schools, and
But
again,
at that
I
point,
was-
were you thinking baseball? Like, I have to go and play baseball in college. Like, that was your motivation.
I always knew I wanted to play in college.
Okay.
I knew I was going to be a college baseball player. It was just a matter of where.
Yep.
And again, the way things were transpiring there, and Tim, and going to Wheaton and whatnot, and
When you go to-
it was the right fit.
When you go to Wheaton and you're going to play baseball, do you think this is a 4-year gig and then I'm going to go out and figure out what I'm going to do in the world? Or at that point, you're like, you know what? I wonder if I can do it after college. Was that thought in your head?
I was going to Wheaton. It's a good liberal arts school. Get a degree and see where the chips fall. But
Okay.
I just baseball was always such a driver for me. It's something that I always wanted. I basically said to myself, I'm going to go as far as I can in this and do whatever it takes in terms of just the performance and working out and nutrition, and give myself the best chance and window to do it and see where it goes.
And, okay, so at what point in your college career was the College World Series? Or was it multiple years?
So 3 out of the 4 years we went to a NCAA regional down in Cape Cod. And then it was our senior year we went to the College World Series.
Wow.
So senior year, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
How'd your buddy do? Did he play with you? Was he on the team? Did he?
Yeah, so interesting thing. So Tim and I were both, we were some of the top hitters in Massachusetts, and had a really good year. We're both going to Wheaton after I made that decision, which was a pretty easy one. And then invited to go to a Cincinnati Reds local workout. So Coach Delani had ties with the Reds. This is actually going to be at Merrimack College. And it was going to be a showcase there. And if you do well, then there's more of kind of a regional one, which I was lucky to go to that one too.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, so back to Tim. So this was about 3 weeks prior to us going to Wheaton. Tim got in a car accident.
Oh.
And it was one of those. I got an early call early in the morning from one of our friends. Did you hear about Tim? I said, no, he's in a car accident. It's not looking good.
Oh, jeez.
So in this, again, kind of going back. So Tim and I were super close. So best friend. He was also a driving force in, making the team come in full throttle, make varsity. I want to train with Tim because we're close and buddies. So we hit every day. We threw long toss every day on the Topsfield Common, not too far from here.
Yeah.
We go to his dad's. We do our hitting circuit. We have lunch. We go work out. We did that all summer. We do that all the time. We were buddies. We trained. And here we are doing cool things in high school. And, and he was a tremendous athlete. He was 6'3", 85 pounds.
Other sports too?
Basketball, just really just all around athlete, just had it,
Yeah.
like that it factor that everyone looks for, right? So anyway, we're super close, and here I am getting ready to go over his house in the morning, and I get a call. So anyway, come to find, so they keep him in a coma for quite some time. So he was in a coma for a couple months. Broke, I don't know how many bones in his body, brain damage. So it was a lot. Come to find out, he comes to while I'm at Wheaton. That's when he starts to come out of the coma. So I go to see him, and and whatnot, and has to work his way back, like literally talking and walking and everything. And this was a kid that was a superstar, So anyway, fast forward to today, Tim is still one of my best friends.
Oh, that's awesome. Geez, I'm glad the story went that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where it was going.
Tim is just like everybody else in this world. There's a little short-term memory loss, but don't we all have a little bit of that?
I do, for sure.
So, but at the end of the day, we talk regularly. He's a great guy. Does
he remember that?
He remembers like the high school things and early on, remembers it like this.
Okay.
It's the things that are a little bit after that. It gets,
wow.
a little iffy, or like it might earlier on, there was a lot of repetition, and kind of when I was at Wheaton, he would call and tell me some stories and then hang up the phone, and 10 minutes later the phone would ring.
That's the brain,
and you
right?
go right through it was
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
But again, fast forward to now, just like us, just a little, say a little
Wow.
little short-term memory loss here and there, but nothing.
Is he still local here?
He lives in Wakefield.
Wakefield. That's local.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool. Well,
Look up Tim Bransfield. He's an unbelievable guy.
That's
So,
great.
It's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
great. All right, so let's go back to the question. Your senior year, you're in the College World Series. Any interesting story about that, or?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think just the culture of the team, it was just such a special team, and it's the first time that, a World Series appearance had happened for the baseball team. So I think it was just overall, just like the culture. It was the first time in Wheaton College history, baseball, that this had happened. Everyone's just super excited, and we had a great run.
Where were the games?
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, it's the team, it's the culture, it was the coaching, it was all those things.
Must
And
have been fun though.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was a
sounds
blast.
awesome. Yeah.
And of course, like there's all the rah stuff, and your roommates behind the scenes and hanging out and telling stories and staying up a little later than you're supposed to, and but like that's what good teams do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
That is great.
yeah, it was
that
it
is
was a lot
great.
of fun.
So, you guys were inducted into the Wheaton Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
How long after the season or that year did you know about it? Was it right away? Did it take a little bit of time before you found out that you guys were inducted? Like, what was that whole thing?
This was more recent. Yeah, I'd say it was about 5 years ago. Six years ago.
So that's a nice
yeah.
surprise.
Yeah, so about 6 years ago. But yeah, they inducted the whole baseball team.
That is great.
Which is
Oh,
great.
wow.
So, yeah, we had set a record for most wins, at Wheaton College for the baseball program, and there was a lot of statistical marks that the team, made, and all conference players, and again, making to the championship game in the World Series, and coming up a little short, but still, getting to the final game and going that far. It's something that the first to do in that school.
So you guys are on a wall. You have like a.
No, we got a plaque. Yeah.
Hoosiers.
Yeah.
It's like Hoosiers, and then you can hear the voice in the background.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, listen! Before we go into your file, I was telling you guys before we started. I've been thinking about doing something fresh for the show. I've been thinking about like doing a
Here we go.
just some impressions or something. So I've been working on one all week.
Okay.
So James, just ask me this question, like I'm Rafael Devers. Ask me if I want to play first base or DH.
Do you have an interpreter with you?
No, I can do it. I can do it. Okay.
Part of the
So, Raphael, how do you feel about wanting to possibly be DH?
No. Did you hear it?
Is that what he said?
Yeah, he said it. It was. I'm gonna use that all the time now. Like, hey,
Right.
you want to go out for dinner?
No.
No.
I gotcha.
Like point blank. No.
That is funny. I think you do that great. That's
Yeah.
a very good.
I'll work on
That
another
is
one
very
at a time,
good.
but that was pretty good.
That was very good.
My kids are really good at saying that now.
Yeah, right.
No.
No.
All right, so your baseball story does not end at Wheaton College. So how did you go on to, beyond? How did that go?
Yeah, so it was during junior year. Some fall ball games. Certain scouts kind of showed up, to see some guys and whatnot, and you flash back then 90 miles per hour is kind of a big deal, or lower 90s, and you start getting some interest. You start getting some scouts that they get your phone number, they stay in touch with you. and fast forward, here we are, winning baseball team. One of the captains on that team. We go far. We go to the World Series. Then it's over. So, we end up losing. Coach Podbelski says I was put into the draft, by a few different teams, some scouts, some, local guys that put in for me that, might have a chance. He might be one of the, later round guys. You are a senior. I'm not a junior at a D1 school where those guys get more money. There's a little bit more intrigue and a younger player. But being a senior in a D3 school, there's always a chance, but it didn't end up working out that way. I didn't get drafted. I was put in, I was one of those sitting around watching the draft, and it's kind of like another chip on the shoulder, right? It's almost like another person saying no, for whatever reasons. And again, outside of your control, I felt like I always try to control the things that you can control. I know it's cliche and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, back to the drawing board, and what do I got to do? And coach called me in. He's like, "Listen, I know it didn't work out, but I have a connection at the Nashua Pride. My catcher in college is now the GM at Nashua, and it was an up and coming independent league program. Professional baseball league in Nashua, Holman Stadium. That stadium's still clicking, still a really good spot with summer ball now for college kids. And it had some history there with the Dodgers, who had some of the minor leaguers that had played through there in past, history. But anyway, he got me linked up with the Nashua Pride. Got me in for a workout. Chris Hall was the GM. So ended up going down there, threw a bullpen in front of Butch Hobson, who was the manager.
Wow. Did you say you had a funny story about him, or no? Just
how many funny stories, and how far can I go on this tremendous show?
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I think you probably can.
So anyway, it's a game day, but he says, "Come on down. You got to throw a bullpen in front of Butch Hobson, and see where it goes from there." So there's fans that are kind of pouring in, like they just finished batting practice, but then there's a bunch of people around, and I'm gonna get a bullpen session in and get to show coach, what I can do. End up having a really good bullpen session. He's telling me what to throw, how to do it, so I do it.
Oh, by the way, at this point, you had a full arsenal of pitches.
Yeah.
You weren't just fastball guy.
Exactly.
Okay, got
exactly.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I had
Was that still your best pitch, or?
Yeah, I had some. There's more like deception.
Okay.
I think some deception in my delivery, some herky jerk mechanics. Kind of a lot of arms and legs coming at you.
Yeah.
But I'd say fastball, sneaky fastball, and good slider.
Okay.
But anyway, performed well enough in that bullpen session, and told me to stick around, and end up, getting a call from Chris and welcome to the team. And so,
wow.
So you're getting paid to play?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That was a story of, getting into pro ball.
Awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
And so how long were you with Nashua before the next team that you went to?
So I played one season with the Pride, mostly as a setup guy, closed a few games. And then after that, was invited to basically like a pro showcase, so for independent league guys or free agents, guys that have just been released from AAA, AA, wherever. But the Padres were hosting a camp out in Chicago. So middle part of the country, bunch of different people coming to that. Performed well there. It was a raining day. It was a nasty day, wind in your face, windy city. Anyway, they say, all right, so we want you to come to our spring training complex and throw for more people.
Wow.
So
Where was their spring training?
In Peoria, Arizona.
Okay.
Peoria.
So from that place, it's just you? Or is it other guys too? Or is it just
there were a few other guys invited.
But
Yeah.
just a couple out of them?
It was like 5.
Yeah, wow. That's cool.
So I ended up, going to the
And
spring.
that going there doesn't mean anything either, right? Like you go there, they could be like, we're not interested, or if they invite you, there's a good shot.
If you're getting invited, they're interested in you for sure.
Okay.
There was still, a pretty good volume of guys that were there, but performed well enough, made that small little cut to get invited to go to their spring training complex. So flew there with my dad, who was there at all those steps of the way, which was great.
Must have been so proud.
Yeah, it was
that's
awesome.
right?
Yeah. And then, and then threw basically a simulated game down there, and then in a game, in front of, hitters and a bunch of people watching you and scouts and, guys that were already, big time coaches in that system, and they're watching you. And at that point, there were, I don't know how many guys that were there, but, they read off a couple names at the end, come over and see us.
What a thrill.
There were 5 of them. I was one of them, lucky enough, and, signed as a minor league free agent.
Oh, wow.
Wow. And so how long were you with, so that was the second stage. How long were you within that organization?
So I went to the Padres spring training and, was performing well until I didn't. So I had a shoulder injury, and it was, again, like just some really poor timing. And again, outside of my control, tried to work through those things, and it didn't work out, and, ended up getting released. And then it was kind of like, all right, well, there's another slap, right? So it's back to the drawing board. And I respect their decision. It was just poor timing. It was, just kind of a tough straw,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything more difficult than making it into the big leagues in baseball. There's just so much.
Yeah, it's
right?
dog eat dog. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one bad outing, and that's all they see of you, right? Or injury, or it just seems
There's
like
probably
it's
also other guys that are at your level or like, just
Yeah,
at
it's
or
a
above
numbers
it.
game,
So,
too.
I'm a minor league free agent where it's, I'm not an early round draft pick, money invested, so it was just a pretty easy decision. If a guy's not healthy, you got to move on.
Right.
But it is what it is, and rehabbed it. Come to find out, it was one of those things I kind of rehabbed and probably covered up a little bit with rehab and strengthening. But I did have a torn labrum. So just pitched through things for a few years in pro ball, and then you end up having surgery, get it done. And luckily I was able to get on the other side of that and be a guy that recovered and got back to full strength, if not even better. So,
And then the next spot was Wichita at that point, or no?
so I played in the Atlantic League, which is, some guys that are just released from AAA, AA. It's a higher independent league baseball, not affiliated with a pro team, but the highest level. Then I got into the American Association, and played for the Gary South Shore Railcats, Wichita Wingnuts. So
was your last team Wichita?
last team was Wichita. Yeah.
Was there a moment when you knew like that was it, or you still thought, this is the next chapter, or did you kind of know?
I just knew. I mean, at that point, I was 29. Not in the big leagues. And had a good season. And it's if I got a call, if there was interest, if there was another workout, then perhaps, keep going. But
But that's high level baseball you were playing there, right?
it was good level
right?
independent league baseball. Yeah, I mean, if you're, again, if you're not in the big leagues or not affiliated with a major league team, it's good baseball. Yeah.
So I think in our own minds, and it's not fair probably for Ricky and I to think, this is what it's like in the minor leagues. But is there something about minor league baseball that no one really warns you about, where it's like, wow, this is like...
How's the travel? Is it a grind? Like if you're
travel.
bussing like everywhere, and
are you
like,
all
in and
over
out
the
of-
country? Are you in a region? Like what are you?
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, in minor league baseball, I mean, you can be in, it's a region or it's a league, so you can be traveling in kind of an area. So for like the Wichita Wingnuts, that was great. So we had Eminem's old tour bus. So like apparently he upgraded or sold it or something. So we have Eminem's old tour bus. We had a great owner. This is for the Wingnuts. Tremendous person. So one of the main owners was Nate Robertson. He pitched in the big leagues for a number of years, lefty pitcher for the Tigers, a couple other teams. And then his brother was the GM for the Wingnuts. And anyway, it was a great team, great setup. They took care of you. But anyway, on Eminem's old tour bus, you're traveling all around the middle part of the country. So I mean, you're in Texas. We went all the way to Winnipeg. I mean, so it's literally so the American
Just right down the middle.
So it was North Dakota, South Dakota. You're playing in Nebraska. You're playing in. I mean, you're seeing parts of the country that, and I think that was just another thrill too. Is just seeing different parts of the country and traveling places on a bus with a bunch of guys that you love and having fun.
How much time of the year are you doing that? Is it like a 6-month season, 8-month season? Like, what are you doing?
Yes, I mean, and that's it's like April, April, May, and then it's going to go like September.
Wow.
Mid September, kind of. It wraps up when the Major League Baseball is going into their playoffs.
And so then, do they pay you for the whole year, or they only pay you during the season, and then you got to figure out what am I going to do from September to April?
During the season, yep. So they pay you during the season. So it's basically you got to have two jobs. So if you're playing baseball, you're getting paid a little something, and then.
Did you get into training then, or no?
Yeah, so that's where I got into pursuing that passion too, getting certified, in some functional training, strength and conditioning, personal training, so got into that and one of my physical therapists had a business. He was actually
Now, if we're going to get into that later,
Yeah.
you don't have to go
Yeah.
now. But if we're going to get,
Yeah.
well, all right. So we'll cover that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
I was just wondering,
Yeah.
what do you do in
Yeah.
between those in between those seasons?
Yep.
So I asked you about like high school and college, but there must have been some interesting cats that you played with. And the other question is, did you play with guys that either like were in the majors and now you're playing with them, or you at one point they made it into majors? Like, were there some interesting?
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. I'd say, with the Wingnuts, that was the last team I was on. So David Peralta. He's a guy that, had a long career. He was with the Diamondbacks. He was with the Dodgers, Padres. So he was around. He was a hitter. He was a guy that went from released lefty pitcher from the Cardinal system, went into independent ball to become a hitter and get back into hitting. Mm-hmm. And basically, made a career of, being a professional hitter and got picked up and,
Wow.
after several good seasons, got picked up and
so you played with him?
Played with him.
Good dude?
So great dude. Yeah.
Wow.
And they all like, you go out at night like boozing at a bar and like shit, like, you know what I mean? Like that, like it's kind of fun. Like some of them are nuts and you're like,
yeah, there's always that aspect of it too, and some guys get lost in it, but you can go out and you can party and have a good time and,
Here's another
kick
question.
your heels up.
You're
Yeah.
April to September. Any breaks? Like, do you get to go home for a weekend, or like literally you're with them until September?
There's a little mini all-star break, but it's usually depends where you are, on the map. If you want to try to go home, you can, or you just stick it out.
Got it. For the most part, you are in it.
Yeah.
That whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, but you need two professions. If you're a minor league, player or professional guy, like, young and up and coming, like you got to have another job. So you're a baseball guy and something else.
are they paying for your like food and lodging, entertainment or stuff like that? Like where is
Probably have a daily stipend or something.
Yeah,
right?
so a lot of times the lodging's taken care of. Some guys get apartments, some guys, have host families, some guys just stay in the hotel, have a nice room, so it just depends,
Is the range of what guys get paid on that team a big range too?
It is, yeah. So,
Okay.
there's certain guys that, are veteran status, guys that have been in the big leagues they played 8 seasons in the big leagues, they're going to get a different paycheck than the kid that just,
Yep.
like I was at one point,
you got to become friends with them.
Yeah.
Use their money.
Yeah. They're buying you a beer or two.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But no, it's fun. It was a lot of good memories. And
Absolutely.
just traveling all over the country. And again,
I hope you have a gazillion pictures and mementos and all that, right?
Yeah, plenty of stuff.
Still have the uniforms?
the ones that they let you keep. Yeah.
Oh man, I'd have that all over my wall
Yeah.
if I had that.
Yeah.
What
I
is
was watching with my wife. We were watching, Meet the Parents.
Yeah.
And they after Meet the Parents, they had like Meet the
the
Fockers
Fockers.
or whatever, and they had the Wall of Gaylord.
Yes.
He like,
Yeah.
no, like eighth place. Eighth
Yeah,
place.
everything's like eighth.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
are we celebrating mediocrity?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
He says that's pretty
They
funny.
have the Wall of Gaylord.
Apparently, there's another one coming out.
Really?
Those are good.
Yeah. Supposedly. Yeah.
All right,
funny.
so you played in. Actually, we'll even go back. Right, you played as a little kid, played in high school, played in college, played in the minor leagues. What is the most memorable game that you played in?
I think it was a Patriots game, wasn't it? You could say it. You could say it.
That's how I know you guys.
Right, I don't think he wasn't allowed to pitch
You
in
could say
that
it.
game.
You could say it.
I mean,
Was it the World Series?
bunch of
Been
good ones.
big.
It's got to be a World Series.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. Yeah. So, real quick story. So here we are. We're down 3 runs. It's the 8th inning. We're down 3. Right. I'm warming up in the bullpen just in case, right? Like, bake, go get hot. You got to get loose just in case. You're gonna pitch. The next.
Were you closer or setup at that point?
I was a closer.
Okay.
So, you're going out to pitch. We're the home team.
Okay.
So you're gonna go out and pitch whether you're down 3, whether we tie it, whatever. You're going into the game. So go get loose. So, a couple of things happen. Bases get juiced. Okay, so I'm warming up. So
For you guys.
Yeah, and we're playing Chapman.
Okay.
Okay, Chapman University. So another really strong program. They're California squad. So anyway, warming up in the pen. Bases get loose, get juiced up. Patrick O'Connor.
Good Italian.
Okay, good Italian guy. Steps up to the dish. Works the count like he always did. Hits a ball down the line. Picture like the Carlton Fisk thing down the line. Is it fair? Is it foul? He didn't quite have the, waving it.
But still.
But it's like, is it? And we were down that line. Sure enough, it hooks around the foul pole. We see the umpire going like this. So we take a 1-run lead. So I throw the fastest balls that I've ever thrown in my life because I know I'm going in to close this thing out. So we end up taking the lead. Go back out there, shut them down 1, 2, 3, and that clinched us going to the national championship.
That is
game.
awesome.
So
you closed it out?
So to close it out, so the last out was a strikeout, high fastball.
What was your move did you do like a little bit of this?
Little Derek Lowe?
It was funny. I think I actually there was so much emotion in that dugout, in that bullpen, the comeback to be able to go into the championship. I don't even remember doing it, but I went to my knees and went like this.
Oh.
And then we all just
that is awesome.
I don't even remember. It was just one of those
that is so
unconscious sports moments that you're in.
That is great.
That's awesome.
And
that's a high leverage moment.
That's number one.
Jeez.
So was Boggs your favorite player for the Red Sox? Who was your
Pedro.
So I was going to ask you that question, if you had to have one guy to pitch for you, because for me, we were.
Well, he liked him. It doesn't mean that he'd want him on the mound. Probably wanted him on the mound.
He's the guy you want. But I mean, so we had Clemens too. Clemens, you're a little younger than us, so Clemens was appointment watching for me. I used to love to watch
he was still
him.
in the league when.
Yeah.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, Pedro, to me, was I think the best pitcher.
And he had such a good personality for what he needed to do for the team, right?
Oh yeah.
It worked. It worked.
But so he was your I loved him. I loved when he came over. It was
know who my favorite player was growing up? You made the comment about him in one of your stories.
Mike Greenwell?
Carlton Fisk.
Really?
There it
Loved
was.
him. And I was a catcher my first
Pudge.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. So, all right. So,
Do you remember when Pedro threw down?
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was at that game. I think we talked about
You
that
were at
before.
that game?
Yeah.
Wait, is that the David?
I was on the third base.
Was that the David Price
Wait a
thing?
minute.
That was the Yankees.
When
Oh, yeah, that
A-Rod
wasn't
got hit?
It wasn't. No, it was when. Wait.
Yeah, they charged them out, obviously.
no,
'cause
So
that's
I was at the game.
He
Yeah.
threw at what's the catcher? Posada was mad. I don't know if he threw at Posada. So they were throwing at each other.
Yeah, it was a different game. You're right.
Yeah. They were throwing at each other, and then Pedro.
There was a lot of this going on.
Yeah. So Pedro kept going like that, and
yeah.
then they were getting mad. But Pedro did something, and what's his name came out on the mound. He was
Right.
going to charge him, Zimmer, and he didn't hit him.
It
He
looked
didn't
like
hurt
he
him.
was more defending
he
himself.
Very gently
Yeah,
grabbed
he just grabbed his
head.
head, and he just threw him on the ground. But then everybody just started going nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might be able to share that in the show notes.
I didn't think he did anything wrong.
That
there.
moment.
Even the announcers were he was charging him.
I mean, if you go out in the field during that, you should, I hate to say it, you should expect that maybe you're going to get into a rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Or something. All right, so why don't we transition now into coaching,
Yep.
right? You hinted at the fact that during the off season, you started getting into that. So explain that transition, explain what, starting to do it when I think you were still playing. And then did that become North Shore Performance Training? Is that what that was or no?
Not yet. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So again, like being a minor league baseball player, you have to have another job, and when it's the off season, you're training, you're working out, you're getting your arm right after some shutdown time, but when it's time to ramp it back up, you're getting ready for your season, but you have to have another job. So McGovern Physical Therapy, is a local, physical therapy. Their staff was our athletic training staff for the Nashua Pride. So again, like in baseball, it's a big brotherhood and the connections and people that and people along the way, and they had a great coaching, athletic training staff, and again, made strong friendships with them. So I ended up working for the physical therapy establishment for a little bit. Then it branched off. They started to do a little bit of strength and conditioning, so I helped with some of the programming and backbone to getting a gym started there when they were going to go from PT, but also doing like a little more like sports and fitness training. And
so that's where you're learning the ropes.
so that's just, and a lot of good information there and learning the ropes, and then go play baseball and then come back and do it all over again. When I retired, I knew I was done that last season with the Wingnuts. It was time to move on. So my father actually ended up passing away the last year that I played. So I knew it was time to be home. I'm 29. You're not, like I said, you're not in the big leagues. Had a great time. Go out healthy. Kind of go out, with your boots on.
A lot of good memories. You had a lot of good memories.
A lot of good memories.
Yep.
Go out in your own way, and be healthy and felt like you had a good year, and it was great. So at that point, I had some connections at New England Premier Sportsplex. It was, previously known as Strike One.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, had a connection there, and through past, working with an AAU program out of there and doing some lessons and different things. But there was some space there, some ideas. You had to have kind of a vision on how to build a gym there. Had to knock down some walls, had to have a creative mind to do that, and had some great partners to do that with. So we banged down some walls, we laid the floor, we put the motivational quotes up on the wall, we set up all the machinery, the equipment, and then started North Shore Performance Training. So working with top athletes in the area, I knew that I wanted to be a coach all along. So when I was done playing, that coaching was going to be my thing.
Was it right away, or did you do that and then you coached?
So this was after I retired. So,
what I'm saying is that you retire, what you just explained, you want to be a coach. I know one of the spots that you were at, St. John's Prep. I don't know if there was anything before that, but how much time between you retired, you're doing that stuff at North Shore, whatever, and then you started coaching high school baseball? Was it right away, or was it no?
So not right away. So
Okay.
I got more into coaching athletes. So it was more of North Shore Performance Training, the build out of the gym, creating a business.
Got it.
It was a bigger runway to get it started because you literally had to build it and then have, but with that, like when you're building out a gym and a space and, you have a lot of time to work on your programming, to work on your model, to work on, how you're going to be different. Like what's, and I was,
And were you high school or college or both? Like athletes?
so yeah, professional, college, and high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was good. And then we had a youth program. It was outstanding. So at the end of the day, once it's all built, you have your schedule. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of connections and people that I've worked with previously, and and got started and had a pretty good client base right out of the gate. And word of mouth. I wasn't someone that had advertised a ton. It was just more of word of mouth and programming, and this is where
I feel like
go.
the time was ripe for something like that too, right? Because you had parents that would do anything for the kid to have an edge, right? And you had the knowledge, and you had the resume that says, "Hey, I did this." So I would think it was a good time.
It was a good time
to be doing
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Was it competitive? Were there a lot of other? Things popping up, and I bet every AAU program probably had some similar offering with something, or
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when you're neutral, like you can really dive into every AAU program, and I'm close with a lot of those coaches. So again, being close with those coaches, having good relationships, like they end up like, this is where you need to go. This is where you need to go. So I ended up getting a lot of, good clients that way, where you don't have to go out and knock on doors and, do maybe a lot of the things that a new business owner would have to do.
Right.
So it was good to have those relationships and just get a start that way.
So was your first move coaching St. John's Prep pitching coach or no?
Yeah, so it was right down the street from where North Shore Performance Training was. So I had a few connections over at St. John's Prep. Got in over there, was just started as a JV coach over there, but also helped out, assistant, with pitching stuff at the varsity level because I had trained all those guys essentially at the gym. So it was a lot of, synergy there. So I ended up, doing that. Had a good, run at St. John's Prep. Ended up becoming the pitching coach there, and we had a great run. A lot of college kids, some of which have gone pro. But just a lot of talent and a lot of fun and great families, great culture, community over there, for sure. So
and then you get the call, you get the offer to
yeah, Colby
Colby.
College. Yeah, Colby
There you
College.
go.
So going back to Wheaton, so one of my good friends at Wheaton College, Jesse Woods. So he is the head coach at Colby College. So there's an opening, and one of the top players at St. John's Prep ended up choosing Colby.
okay.
Had a lot of different offers, and Colby was the right fit, and maybe a little connection of Coach Baker and Coach Woods and trying to get that going. And Brady O'Brien, who set all kinds of records at Colby, and is now at University of Richmond doing his fifth year because he has extra eligibility just because of COVID.
Yep.
But tremendous, player and whatnot. And so I had that connection too. So, kind of word gets out like, hey, like one of our pitching coach just left, our assistant, like, then I've kind of Coach Woods, I have Brady, and I'm like, there's 1,000,001 logistics to work out here. I'm a young dad and, there's a lot of things. But
And Colby's in the middle of nowhere in Maine.
it is. It is.
I know that because I went to
love it.
Tufts and we would have to compete. I ran track and those were,
Hey, they have a better facility now, though.
I'm sure they
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah, they have a state-of-the-art facility. So, again, like Coach Woods, a good friend of mine, bringing that program from, you can kind of see what he's building there. It was in the process of being built. Coach Skelly was another Wheaton guy, younger guy who I didn't play with. He was younger than me, but in that a Wheaton alumni, up-and-coming coach. He's doing great things. He's head coach at Vassar now.
Wow.
So anyway, just like these connections and kind of Wheaton, it's funny, how it all works. But, they had the athletic training center, this brand new thing that was built. They have a turf field. They have a great school.
Well, I know how much they charge for NESCAC schools,
Right?
so they better have enough money to do that kind of stuff.
It's woodsy. It's, Brady's up there. There's some other guys that I know that are on that team at Colby that I've trained in the past. I'm like, you know what? So
I don't want to get you in trouble, but is there a way to finagle a scholarship at a NESCAC school or not really?
No.
No way around it.
No scholarships.
Wow.
No.
Academic.
Academic.
So if you have a smart kid that wants to play ball, they get a deal.
There's certain things.
Need-based?
Need-based aid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you did that for 2 years, 3 years?
3 years.
3 years?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So we got a little bit better each year. Each year, there were some record-breaking, things that happened, and tremendous, roster. It was a bunch of, again, it's all about the players. I always go back to it's about the players. As coaches, you have to have the right programming and structure and things in place, but it's about the players, their families, their backgrounds, just like solid kids you're getting. And like they're all hardworking, gritty, dirty kids that just love.
And they have to
baseball
get in academically, right? Or can you slip a few in?
It's definitely a process. Anything NESCAC, as it's definitely a process, and you're up against all the other programs, and or just kids that can get in for various reasons. And
That was so. I mean, I know how much you love coaching, and I know how much you were into that. But you made a lot of sacrifices, right? Because you and your wife and kids were still here, right?
Right.
So you were making the drive And I would think that after 3 years, that's tricky, right?
Yeah. So, yeah.
And then you had to give up your business too, right? Like the training business as well.
Right.
At least at the time, right?
Yep.
So I think that brings us to your next chapter, right? Which is...
Just to go back to that, though,
Yeah.
like, if it wasn't for my wife, Charlene, right, to understand this and for her to, to be able to take things on and be with the boys at home and allow me to pursue a passion like this and to get into coaching and to try to go as far as I can with that.
We're going to do this for her. Ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to press the right button.
There it is. There it is.
Well, you're fortunate you have a understanding.
Right?
Yes. So super understanding and
because your children were small.
Yeah.
Little, and
Yeah.
so she.
But
She's the one that let it happen.
fast forward to where we are today.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So explain that. Where are you today?
So I'm at the Governor's Academy.
There you go.
Yep.
Let's go. Now I'm going to play with the soundboard. Sorry.
Yeah. You got all sorts of toys over there.
You really do.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, it worked out well. So, 3 years at Colby, and essentially each year we got a little bit better. We set new records, new accomplishments.
Did you kick the ass out of Tufts?
We actually swept Tufts.
There you go.
Yep.
I don't have an allegiance to the baseball
One of
team.
our young guys came out with a broom on Tufts and actually did the little sweep in our little huddle. I don't think too many people saw that, but
That's funny.
anyway. But
Yeah.
anyway, it was a great, last season there, nationally ranked program, more all conference players more than any other year, top regional team, so end up going to the regionals. It didn't work out great for us. We didn't advance, but it's still just again like more firsts. They're
on a good trajectory.
They are.
Yep.
Yep. So a lot of good talent there. Good recruits are in there. Good programming. Again, they have all the recipe to make that work there. So
You were recruiting there yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I knew that after 3 years, it's time to look into something more local. Look into some other avenues, some other head coaching opportunities. Whether it's college, whether it's prep, whether it's just pursue business again, and just use this as tremendous experience for an opportunity that could come up at another point. So anyway, there were a couple college opportunities that had popped up that had some interest, and do I go that route? And then all of a sudden there was an opportunity at Govs. So we actually, when I was at Colby, we recruited a player at Govs who's up there now. So I knew their coach. I knew the program was in good standing. It had.
Was he an old dude that retired, or
no? He's a young guy. So he actually got away. He had young kids. He got away. He has his own business.
Okay. So
he, he was there for 4 years and had a great, tenure when he was there, but he just moved on.
So you took over. You haven't had a season yet, right?
No.
You took.
Not yet.
Okay. All right. So you're working on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're part of that recruiting process too.
Yeah. So this whole past year, just again like learning the Governor's way, the culture, the school, the recruiting, and how you can recruit and pull in, good athletes, good, well-rounded scholar athletes. You meet their families, you give them a tour, you're there, you're present, you're talking about baseball, you're talking about the school.
What's the biggest difference between recruiting prep school, high school versus recruiting college? Is there a difference, or is it the same, or?
It's pretty similar,
Okay.
So it's like, you have Colby where it's NESCAC, it's high academic, it's high baseball, very good D3, and then you have like these prep schools where again it's kind of the same thing. It's super high academic, and you have really good baseball players, or athletes in other sports, whatever it is, trying to make it to the best college that they can be in.
So
it's pretty similar.
So let me the experience that I have with your situation maybe is with my son at the time with football, right? And some of the kids that he played with did go to prep schools. What I saw, and I don't know if this is the same in baseball, is that you'll have these prep schools and they'll have, like, I'm talking football now, 6 incredible players. Incredible. Like, they're going to go D1, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then there's a giant drop-off because you just can't maintain, 22 incredible players. So I don't want to put you in a tough spot because you're coaching a team, but is it similar there where you've got some absolute studs and then the rest of the bench is a little bit more back down to earth?
Yeah,
Or
I
no?
think you're going to find that at every prep school. I mean,
Right.
I think
That's what I'm
just-
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's the formula.
Because I think, for prep schools, I mean, they're going to value academics. They're going to value athletes, but they're also looking at, kids that are great in performing arts. They're great at all these other different, in the sciences, and they're great at what they do, right? So it's like, it's a school of a bunch of really talented, great kids and doing great things at what their specialties are, So like, at the end of the day, you're going to have some really good baseball players to help build your program around. But can you get the really good football player who's also the really good baseball player, right? Or the kid that's he can play the piano better than anybody else, and baseball is his favorite sport.
Listen, that's why you get a good coach. You got to coach them up. That's it.
So,
That's why you get a good coach.
Sorry. But that was for you.
Yeah.
That was for you, right?
So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's
Do you have to work? So let's say you recruit a kid, perfect for your program, comes in as a freshman. Do you have to worry about another prep school trying to pull him away? Or no? Once he's there, you're good? Or is there competition?
I think you're seeing that a lot now. I mean, like transfer portal, in college sports is like no one's ever just like satisfied, and that's something.
If he's not getting playing time, he's out.
That's changed a lot, and I'd like to say that's not going to be a problem for us. I think our number one thing is culture. And like some of our team meetings that we've had and things that we've done. It's building a special culture and program that's different. And how can you be different than other places? It's not just the drills and the skills, but it's like the activities and the things that you do, and building relationships. And,
So that's building a team, not just on the field.
And hopefully that
trust,
secures them,
Yeah.
right? Because they, know that they're in on it.
They're having
Right.
fun. They're getting better. They love the people that they're playing with. They look up to the coach. They like the school.
Do you have to worry about dads at the high school level?
I would
That's
say more
everywhere.
at high school than college, right?
That's everywhere.
Do you have to worry about it in college too? Like, or they pretty much stay away?
It exists. I mean,
Okay.
I'd say it's more hands off, in college. I'd say it's definitely like a pressure cooking time, in high school where it's getting the good grades. It's, the kids aren't quite that independent yet. So their parents have to, help with more, and
So that's a good question too, right? So I know Governors because we lived in Byfield before we moved to Boxford,
Yeah.
right? And it's right there. What percentage of the players are local versus they could be from all over, right?
yeah, I mean, there's a decent amount that are local,
Okay.
and for various reasons, and is it,
Well, there's talent here, so
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And smart kids here. But do
Yeah.
you have, kid from California, kid from Texas, kid from
yeah.
They
I
board
mean,
there? Do they board?
Yeah, there's
Yeah, you
boarding.
can.
Yeah, there's boarding, so it's an option. So there's day students and then boarding students. So
Okay.
I mean, they're from all over the country. I mean, really. I mean,
So is your recruiting here though? Or
I'd say the niche is New England.
yeah.
There's kids that are from Connecticut that are super talented. There's some top players in Maine that want to reclass and are interested in our program. I mean, same in Massachusetts. I mean, they're all over the place.
And I would think that maybe I don't know, do you call it a pipeline when it's kids going into high school, like where you have good experience with a certain area with a good kid, and then are you able to tap into the next good kid?
So
and again, I know you just started doing this.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just similar because at the end of the day, I was on the other side of this. I was a college coach who was talking to guys like myself now.
Right.
So just having that experience, I think at the college level was super important.
Yeah.
I don't look at this as like going down to prep school. I'm thrilled to be in an opportunity where like this is a great coaching job. It's similar with recruiting and talent and trying to build a program
And you care about where these kids go
and it's
after your program.
15 minutes from home.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
But you're the
that's it.
head coach, too.
But you
Yeah,
care
you're the
about
head
where these
coach.
kids go
It's your
after your program, right? Because that's a big sell too, right? Like if you can prove to these kids, not only do we have a great program, not only am I going to get the best out of you, but guess what? Again, 3 years from now, you're going to say, this kid went to that, this kid went to that, right? That's the promise of why they would go to a program.
Yeah,
right?
and there's going to be some kids that pursue that and want to go to the highest level of baseball that they can, right? And there's other kids that, you're going to, again, find that in every prep school where baseball is important to them, but they're also really good at other things, and they might not want to do that, and that's fine. And that's, again, the culture that you build a team, not everyone's going to go play college baseball, but the ones that do, let's make it happen. And again, I feel like I have good, connections and communication with, the top college coaches around, top AAU coaches around. Again, it's just about building relationships, having those, strong communications and helping these kids out the best way that you can.
Awesome. All right, so some rapid fire questions.
Let's go.
Ask the question about the three things and which one he thinks the most important.
If you could guarantee a pitcher one thing, what velocity, control, movement, which is the biggest game changer?
Yeah. What do you think is the most important thing for a young pitcher? Velocity, control, or movement?
Velocity. Okay.
Because that's what gets you
'Cause
seen,
you'll get
right?
the other
You know
things?
how you say you need something to be seen?
So velocity is an integral part. I mean, so is command and throwing strikes, right? So I think the first thing that you look at, like, can a pitcher throw 2 pitches for strikes? Right? Can you throw 2 pitches for strikes, but do you also have a very high velocity? So it goes hand in hand.
Well, I would
important.
I would also think that if you had a kid that could throw 100 miles an hour with no control and movement, you're probably going to give the kid a shot.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nuclear Luch.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he's throwing 50 miles an hour and has great control and movement, probably not.
If you're throwing super fast, but there's small tweaks, or it's something where, you can train this person a certain way with strength and conditioning, or it's a small tweak in their mechanics, then all of a sudden it's organized. Now that velocity is, has command.
How do you take something? So you take something off your fastball, to keep batters off. So you just change your movement a little bit. So instead of coming in at 90, it comes in at 80 something, and they're throwing is that hard
Also,
to
the way
do?
you hold the ball sometimes can take away some velocity, right?
So it's called
split
tunneling.
fingers
You want
or something?
everything to look exactly like your fastball. So same mechanics, same arm speed, same everything. So it just depends. I mean, here's your fastball, but then coming out of that same slot and that same height, and angle is your slider, your curveball, your splitter, your changeup.
So they don't know what's coming.
Yeah, you want to keep the same mechanics, the same arm speed, and you want everything
there's
coming
no
out of the
hint.
same slot. So
Got
the
it.
kids that drop the elbow and try to do something different or slow down the arm, good hitters are going to see that.
Are there a
They know
lot of
what's
high
coming.
school kids that can do that?
If
or
you-
is that-
well, if you train it,
Okay.
Is that
train.
what you train?
try to.
Wow.
Right. So you could take a kid that doesn't have that, but if he's moldable, you can give him that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your team's a lot better.
Because I got to figure that's one of the hardest things to do in sports is to hit a baseball. You know what I mean? If you think it's coming in at 90, you have to be swinging right away. But all of a sudden, it's you just see batters just get fooled sometimes.
Now
And it's holy crap.
He's more of a pitcher though, so you have to say the toughest thing is pitching, not hitting.
Well, he's making it tough. He's making it tough.
Pitchers are in control, man. They
James,
got
I
the ball.
can't even hit a friggin'
That's
slow
right.
pitch softball.
That's right.
I'm not worried about it.
I
I'm not
know.
looking at things coming in the line angle.
I know. What do you think the worst advice young kids are getting in baseball?
Worst advice?
Yeah. And I don't know if
Sometimes
you want to be
it's-
specific to pitching or just baseball in general, but
Overtraining.
or how about specialization too? You just got to play baseball. That's it. Are people
Yep.
saying that?
Yeah, so I think it's overtraining. I think it's kids that they play one sport, to your point, and they don't take time off, and they just go and they go and they go, and they're going to every showcase, every camp, It's one thing if you're a fielder, right? You're a third baseman and a hitter. You can go to the camp in mid-January. When they want to see your swing, they want to see you field the ground ball and throw it. It's sometimes pitchers get into trouble with getting invited to things, and you're not in mid-season form. You're not, and you try to rev it up. You try to get to a point. So,
Is that like injury? You can get injury from that?
you get
or
injured.
just Fatigue?
Yeah.
Or?
You get
Isn't there
injured.
something
You get
you-
injured? You're just putting your body in a bad position. And
Isn't
you
there
get
just
hurt.
some things you just can't avoid either? Just the stress of pitching a ball is just damaging, right?
Yeah, I mean that's where just like the total approach comes in, just full body approach of strength and conditioning, but also mechanics and the whole thing. Just try to make it a fine-tuned machine.
Do you have a funky training technique that works? Maybe you don't want to
Can't give it
disclose it. But
So I'm one of the coaches under Tom House Sports. So Gardio Flynn, who's my business partner, he's the head of
we didn't get into that yet.
National Pitching
Yeah.
East. So we run essentially NPA East, so National Pitching, which is under Tom House Sports. So Tom House was Tom Brady's original throwing coach. Tom House works with 20 NFL starting quarterbacks right now. He works with multiple big league starting pitchers. He works with minor leaguers. He works with college guys. He works with youth. So he's all over the place. So Tom House, I mean, tremendous.
He's a part of your thing?
So we're part of Tom House Sports.
Oh, okay, got
so
it.
we're certified under Tom House. So that's where a lot of and a lot of people think he's funky. He's a throwing guru. There's a lot of, science-based stuff that he does, and it's backed by the medical community. But there's some quirky things in there, in some of the trainings and some of the arm care. And
I think it worked for Tom Brady.
it's worked okay.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
That and the avocado ice cream.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So Baker O'Flynn Sports. So I mean, we have our pitching, group. It's Boss Velocity that we work on. It's a very pitching, centric pitching development program, and that is something where it is a year-round program, but it's very structured in terms of how much they're throwing competitively. So like in the fall, it's more strength and conditioning.
And this
It's
is
more,
high school and college and pro athletes that
yes,
you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's more strength and conditioning, mobility, some drills where they're not even throwing. So you can do things where you're not throwing year round at a high level competitively. So we have that. There's presentations that we do as well. There's youth camps, there's sports camps, there's going to be a baseball specific camp too that we do in the summer. So
If you have, so we'll post some stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Here, so
We'll share whatever you
we
want
have
us
a
to share.
massive following.
Let's go.
So we're putting it
Yeah.
all up.
Let's go.
You know what?
Appreciate
He
you.
like that.
Maybe here's the deal. Maybe there's just one person you can help that's out there. That
No,
hears this.
We have
Let's go.
we have a good tight community.
We do.
So
Yeah.
no,
Tight.
we do. It's tight.
Tight. We don't let anyone in.
No,
We don't let anyone
everybody's
in.
welcome.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
But
For your coaching philosophy, are you more of a kind of player's coach or a tough love or none of the above or all of the above? Like, what's your coaching way?
I think just being yourself, be authentic. Integrity.
I see you as positive.
Positive.
Not like crapping on kids to.
No.
Okay.
No, it's positive. It's integrity. It's doing the right thing. It's playing hard. A lot of hustle ball. That's how we're going to be on offense. And good pitching, good defense. Collect outs, strike some guys out, and it's.
So
gonna
we're
be-
mid-February. Have you been able to practice with the team, or you can't do it yet?
Can't do it yet.
Okay.
So if individual players reach out, you can do some individual skill work with them.
Can they go to Baker O'Flynn?
If they were a non-returning varsity player.
Okay, got
So
it.
if they're a young and up-and-coming player, not on varsity,
Can't pull that.
you can do it. But
I got you.
so I mean, you can technically, if a couple players reached out, in the off season, you can work with them, or preseason, you just can't work as a team yet.
Got it. All right, so last segment, which is last but certainly not least, is kind of the family aspect of all this, right? Balancing coaching, business, family. You mentioned your wife being unbelievably supportive, and
Oh, yeah.
That couldn't have
She's the
happened
rock
without
star,
her.
yep.
Yeah. So how does that go? I mean, it's probably, I don't want to use the word easier to balance it now, but now your world's a little bit closer together, right? The worlds that you're in.
Yeah, that was ultimately the main reason for the change. Kind of going back to that. It's get closer to home. But stay in baseball. I owned a business before, so kind of get back into that. If kind of see where the interest was in baseball. And again, it's what jobs are going to be open for college baseball coaching, or prep school coaching. So it's kind of the timing. Some things outside of your control there.
Yep.
But again, being closer to home, and that was the main, I'd say, driving force, to getting into business again and then coaching locally.
And you have two boys. Did you say they're 5 and 7 now?
Yes, yeah.
Do they like baseball?
They love baseball.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They love baseball. They love football.
Basketball, like dad, too?
Basketball, they're playing everything. Yeah.
Okay.
They're getting on the skis, too. Try to keep them busy,
wow.
see what they like. You know?
Do you have any time if you wanted to coach them in baseball?
Yeah.
You do?
I think I'll help out, when the timing's right and when I can. I want to be there and help out. And
Okay.
Listen, always to sign up as an assistant. Don't sign up right away.
Yeah.
You don't sign up right away as the coach. You always wait, you hold back a little bit. and
Johnny
then-
Ingalls is a good buddy of mine. He's on the board, for Boxford Little League, and I try to help out, whenever I can. So,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a not necessarily a baseball question, right? But you, like Ricky and I, are a New England sports fan.
Oh yeah.
So, what is your favorite New England sports moment?
Yeah, two good ones right there. So I have two.
Mm-hmm.
I was at both of these games, so with my dad. So just
Special.
sentimental, just awesome times and memories. So 99 All-Star game,
Oh yeah, Pedro.
Martinez.
Yeah, and then
Ted Williams.
Tent Williams, right?
Ted
Coming out
Williams,
of the cart.
Coming out of
hitter
the cart.
dog.
You were at
going
that
around.
game?
So I was at that game.
Wow.
So Pedro strikes out the first five batters. Again, like Pedro, my number one guy.
How hard was it to get tickets to that?
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Okay.
weren't any batters
Yeah.
either. That was like the best batters, like
Yeah,
in baseball.
Yeah, that National League roster was
Yeah.
as good as it gets, and he went out there, hometown crowd. The Ted Williams thing,
Yeah.
I remember looking around, left and right, and there's grown men crying and waving their hats and going like this.
How old would have been at
just
that point?
Just got the chills.
How old were you? Ballpark.
Very early high school.
Okay.
That's what
Got
Nomar, like he loved Nomar, Ted Williams.
Yeah.
Nomar.
No man.
Nomar.
Yeah.
But he did. He loved him.
So that was your first memory.
So
what
that's-
was another?
Well, I'd say just sports moments. I'd go with that, and then also the snow game.
With the Patriots.
With the Patriots.
I was in the building with you.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the Vinatieri kick was basically like right in front of us, maybe a little up, but just the whole sequence of events, the fumble or not the fumble.
Yeah, tuck roll.
rule.
The tuck rule. So people are leaving our aisle. We have season tickets. We've had them for 30 years. And it's been unbelievable ride, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But getting to go to these games with your family and everything and whatnot. But anyway, so that happens. The aisles, everyone's getting up, they're leaving
From the fumble?
Because they
people are-
thought,
I
they thought it was
game's
done.
over.
It was over.
The
Yeah.
game's
Oh,
over. So
man.
people are standing in the aisles, and going up to the concourse. And all of a sudden you hear, all right, the play is under review. So everyone's paused.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
So people on the concourse and the aisles, everyone's just kind of waiting around to see what happens. The play's been reversed. Place goes nuts. Snow goes in the air. People file back into their seats. Rest is history. The
Those
kick
weren't
is
easy
right in
field
front.
goals either. That was a low,
No.
in the snow. That
And
was
we have pretty good seats, and that ball went up into the snow. I can't even see it.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at the crowd, and the crowd's going crazy, and then you see the referee go.
Correct me
It's
if I'm
good.
wrong. I think people forget that was the last game in the old stadium too.
Yep.
And then I had season tickets at the time.
Yeah.
And then I think the next year it was the Steelers. I think was the first game in the new stadium.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last game.
So that's incredible. That
Yeah.
game was the last. That was the finale for that old stadium.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Jermaine Wiggins. We've said this before. He had a monster game.
Yeah, he
He
did.
had 10 catches in that game.
Yeah.
was- yeah.
He had a big
Yeah.
game.
Not bad for a local kid.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Right? So we're going to share whatever information you want to share, right? Any upcoming camps or clinics or anything that you would just want to do a shout out. We're going to share, this stuff. Any shout outs on that? Or
We're in the prepare to pitch, part of our programming, just for Boss Velocity. So, this is the final, kind of rush before, tryouts, before the spring starts up. So we have a nice little runway for, getting mound work in, all the throwing progressions, arm care, strength and conditioning. So that's happening at Boss. We're going to have a bunch of, summer clinics and camps as well. So certainly share those with you.
Yeah, so we'll share everything. Hopefully you can get it there. For whatever reason you don't get it, reach out to us. We'll get them over to you. Based on the conditions right now with ice and snow, I hope to God that actually your fields at some point.
Right?
are playing.
Luckily, we get to go to Florida. So we're going to
Wow.
Florida. So March 15th through the 22nd. So
That is
Saturday.
awesome.
So we're going to play a lot of top prep, schools.
Make sure the
and-
kids don't get in trouble,
I know,
right? Kids
yeah.
will be kids.
Yep.
Okay.
You're gonna like
Oh,
go
yeah.
to spring training a little bit to get to see.
Yeah, so we have a few. It's a good blend of practices and games. There's going to be some team activities mixed in as well. Navy SEAL Museum. So we're in Fort Pierce, Florida. That's where we're going to be. So on the East Coast, not too far from the Mets spring training. So,
Okay.
we'll do a little Navy SEAL Museum. We're going to get a little private tour, walk around there. And then there's going to be, another day where we go to see the Mets open to the public, in the morning, just see them practice, maybe get a little Juan Soto action.
That's
so-
awesome.
I forgot about that.
So
Jeez.
just try to get the kids around baseball, that as much as they can.
that sounds
Awesome.
like fun. That's
So it'll
awesome.
be a good time.
Wow. Well, James, thank you so much for coming on. This was a great conversation.
Appreciate
wish
you guys.
Wish you the best, right? And obviously, you'll keep us posted on all the goodness that happens, and maybe we can go to a game, right?
We'll go to
Let's
a
go.
game.
All right.
Take it on the road.
And
Go.
enjoy
Live broadcast.
and enjoy Florida because I'm already jealous
I know,
that
really.
you'll be in warmth.
Be some groupies. Come on down.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and Ricky.
We'll see you.